Sometimes, the universe falls silent to hear the sound of your faith. It's when everything seems to be at a standstill, your job, your love life, your purpose, that the real test begins. Silence is not absence, it is preparation. And if you're watching this video right now, maybe the universe brought you here because something big is about to change. But before any reward, there is a desert. And those who don't understand the desert will never achieve the miracle. Today I want to show you the 7 moments when the universe tests your faith, and how to recognize them before the turnaround. There's a moment in life when everything seems to stop. Prayers echo, but no answer returns. Doors close, messages don't arrive, plans vanish like mist. It's at this point, when the heart wonders if the universe has forgotten you, that the real test begins. Because silence is not absence, it's observation. The universe observes you, tests your faith, measures your vibration. It's like a breath before a leap. When nothing happens, everything is being prepared. Brief pause. Silence is the interval between the seed and the flower, and whoever doesn't understand this uproots their own miracle before it sprouts. Human beings fear emptiness. They want immediate answers. They want signs. They want control. But the universe teaches through absence, not abundance. When the sound of life seems to cease, it's because the soul is being trained to hear something more subtle, the inner calling. And this calling only appears when the noise of the world falls silent. It's painful, I know, but every silence carries a hidden message. The universe doesn't fall silent out of cruelty, but to teach you to trust beyond logic. Because faith isn't about hearing, it's about remaining when nothing is heard. How many times have you thought everything was lost? How many nights have you stared at the ceiling and wondered, why me? And perhaps the answer never came. Not because you did something wrong, but because you were being prepared for something greater. Silence is a mirror. It shows what still needs to be healed. It shows impatience, fear, a wounded ego. The universe doesn't punish, it refines. Smooth transition. And every wait is an invitation to evolution. It's the desert of the soul, where only those who trust reach the vibrational promised land. When you enter this silence, the outside world seems to crumble. Friendships fade, projects are lost, even faith seems to slip through your fingers. But none of this is the end. It's the pruning before flowering. The universe needs to empty you of noise to fill you with purpose. Soft voice. And the deeper the silence, the closer the awakening. It is in this emptiness that the light begins to grow, even if your eyes cannot yet see it. Whoever crosses the silence crosses their own fear. And on the other side, there is something that no human word can describe. Peace. Some confuse silence with punishment. But punishment is resisting what is being shown. The universe doesn't punish, it synchronizes. Everything that is withdrawn out of love. Everything that is delayed for alignment. Energy needs to mature to sustain what is to come. You cannot receive a blessing with the anxious mind of someone who still doubts. That is why silence extends, so that your vibration may rise. When the heart calms and the mind is silent, the universe can finally act. Because there is no more resistance, there is surrender. Think of the sunrise. It makes no sound, but it transforms everything. That's how the universe moves. Discreet, yet absolute. What seems like stagnation is merely the time needed for everything to align behind the scenes of reality. Slight pause. While you suffer thinking nothing is changing, invisible forces are rewriting your destiny. And when the time is perfect, what hurts you today will only be a memory of how strong you were. Silence is the universe's code to say, trust me. So, if you are going through this silent phase, don't despair. You haven't been forgotten. You've been chosen. The universe doesn't speak because it's building something in secret. The test of faith begins when the mind is silent and the heart continues to believe. Soft ascending path. Hold on a little longer. Soon the sound will return. Soon the doors will open. And when that happens, you will understand that every second of waiting was part of the plan. Because silence is the womb of miracles. and you are about to be born again. Chaos is the second language of the universe. It speaks through confusion, loss, and the unexpected. When everything starts to become disorganized, it's not a sign of destruction. It's a call for reconstruction. People often ask for transformation, but forget that transformation is about messing things up before aligning them. So the universe, in its silent wisdom, turns the tables. It changes plans, cuts ties, causes setbacks. It's not punishment, it's realignment. Because the soul doesn't evolve in comfort, but in uncertainty. And when you start asking yourself, why is everything going wrong? You're actually much closer to understanding what needs healing. Chaos comes like the wind, stripping away what cannot stand. It reveals the fragilities of the structures you built out of fear, convenience, or haste. Everything that wasn't born from truth begins to crumble, and you feel the ground disappearing. But it is in this space between the old and the new that consciousness expands. Soft pause. You are not losing. You are stripping yourself bare. The universe needs to tear down what is false so that the true can find space to grow. And what now seems like collapse will soon be rebirth. Often, blessings come disguised as chaos. The lost job that led you to your calling. The love that ended and returned you to yourself. The pain that taught you to listen to what you had ignored for years. Everything that breaks you also shows you what you are made of. When the universe wants to change your path, it doesn't ask permission. It creates earthquakes. Because fear rarely moves willingly, but always out of necessity. And it is in this upheaval that the soul awakens. There's a point in chaos where despair tries to speak louder. The mind wants to understand. The heart wants to escape. But chaos isn't meant to be understood. It's meant to be traversed. It's the dark night before the dawn, the smoke before the new fire. When everything seems to crumble, remember, the universe never destroys something you still need. It only removes what has already served its purpose. Soft crescendoing soundtrack. Chaos is the surgery of the soul, and each cut hurts because it heals. Many people confuse chaos with abandonment, but it is the purest expression of universal love. Because the universe loves you enough not to leave you where there is no growth, and what seems like cruelty is disguised protection. You are not being punished. You are being prepared. The universe acts like a sculptor. It cuts, molds, refines, until the brilliance of your essence appears without noise. Each loss is a carving of light. Each collapse, a new chance to vibrate differently. So, when everything is falling apart, don't fight. Breathe. Close your eyes and trust. Chaos is the birth of a new phase in your life. And like every birth, it comes with pain, sweat, and tears, but also with promise. A promise of clarity, lightness, and a new beginning. Because after the chaos ends, the vision opens. What was confusion becomes understanding. What was pain transforms into direction. Low voice. The universe always knows what it's doing. Remember this. Chaos is the storm that clears the sky. It didn't come to destroy, it came to purify. And when everything seems out of place, know that it is exactly where it should be. Clarity comes after confusion, just as calm comes after the storm. Allow yourself to go through it. Trust the disorder, because it is the gateway to your new vibration. In the end, chaos is the purest test of faith, believing that even in the mess, there is a plan in motion. There comes a time when even the strongest wonder if it's worth continuing to believe. The faith that once seemed firm begins to tremble like a flame in the wind. It is at this moment that the universe, or God, as many call it, falls silent on purpose. Not to punish you, but to refine you. Doubt is the laboratory of faith. It is there that you discover whether you believe out of habit or conviction. Brief pause. When the sky falls silent and the heart begins to scream, it is a sign that your trust is being tested at its deepest level. God's silence is not absence, it is observation. It's as if the universe were saying, "Now it's your turn to walk alone." In this emptiness, you learn to listen to yourself, to find yourself, to perceive the strength you've always had, but which was dormant. Faith doesn't grow in answers, but in questions. When you begin to question yourself, something within you awakens, a spark that doesn't depend on external miracles, but on inner courage. And that's when you begin to understand that doubt is the school of those who love the invisible. Some people run from doubt, but it is a gateway. Without it, faith would be automatic, without depth, without choice. God allows uncertainty to visit you so that you can consciously choose to believe. It's easy to say, "I believe," when everything is going well. But when the ground disappears and the sky closes, that "I believe" becomes sacred. It is at this point that the soul matures and the vibration changes, because believing when all is silent is the highest act of surrender that exists. During this process, the mind tries to deceive you. It says that if God is silent, it's because he has given up. But that's an illusion. Silence is the interval between your prayer and your harvest. Nothing is lost. Everything is germinating. Soft voice. The universe never stops acting. It just works outside your field of vision. Just as roots grow hidden before the flower appears, the answer grows in the invisible. And when you least expect it, what was doubt will transform into certainty, not because someone proved something to you, but because you felt it. This phase is delicate. The mind wants to control, wants to understand, wants logic. But faith doesn't reside in logic. It resides in vibration. Faith is the leap into the dark, guided by a heart that recognizes the light. And God, in his wisdom, uses silence as a mirror, so that you may see the reflection of your own strength. Silence is the sound that teaches you to truly listen. Not outside, but inside. It is in silence that fear dissolves and trust is built. Doubt is the wind that blows to ignite the flame of faith, not to extinguish it. It is what separates those who talk about trusting from those who truly trust. When the universe leaves you without answers, it's because it wants to see if your vibration is strong enough to sustain the blessing that comes next. Quick answers create fragile faith. Prolonged silence creates eternal faith. So, if nothing happens, celebrate. You are being trained for something greater than you imagine. And when the silence finally breaks, something within you has already changed. You no longer seek proof. You are the proof. You no longer need to hear. You feel. You no longer ask for signs. You are the sign itself. And it is at this moment that the universe smiles in secret, because the test is over. The silence was not punishment. It was consecration. Doubt was the fire that purified you. And now, the sound of the faith that was born within you is so strong that it echoes through the invisible. There's a phase in the journey when the universe seems to place you in an empty room. Suddenly, people drift away. Conversations lose their meaning. Places that once made you feel good now seem too small. This spiritual solitude isn't punishment. It's a transition. It's when the universe separates you from the noise of the world to teach you to listen to the sound of your soul. Brief pause. At first, it hurts. The mind rebels. The heart feels the absence. But soon, you realize that this absence is, in fact, the deepest presence that exists, that of yourself with yourself. The spiritual path is solitary because it is individual. No one can walk your road for you, nor carry the weight of your transformation. When solitude arrives, it is a sign that the universe wants to mature you. It cuts ties that keep you at the old frequency and invites you to vibrate higher. The silence of others is the space that God creates for you to hear him. And in that emptiness, you discover something precious. You were never truly alone, only distracted by the wrong voices. Spiritual solitude reveals who is truly part of your essence and who was merely a temporary backdrop. False connections dissolve, empty interests crumble, and all that remains is truth. It's painful to see people leave, but it's necessary, because you can't enter a new frequency carrying old energies. Soft voice. Separation is, in fact, an act of love from the universe, which knows that your growth requires space. This solitude is also the mirror that reflects your shadows. When the noise fades, you begin to hear what you've been trying to silence for years: fears, regrets, unhealed wounds. Many run from this phase because it's intense, but it's there that the soul purifies itself. The universe isolates you to rebuild you without interference. It shows you who you are when no one is watching. And it is in this raw encounter with truth that the light of authenticity is born. There comes a moment when loneliness stops hurting and begins to heal. You realize that being alone is different from being empty. Spiritual solitude is the temple of reunion. It's the place where your vibration begins to align with the new that is coming. And when this harmony is formed, the universe sends new people. More conscious, purer, more aligned. The cycle begins again, but now at a higher level. Light track. What was once absence is now purpose. The universe takes away but never leaves you wanting. It removes what weighs you down to make room for what elevates you. When you understand this, the fear of loneliness disappears. You begin to realize that the time spent in silence was training to hear the whispers of your own intuition. And there, in the center of that emptiness, certainty is born. Faith is not company. It is inner presence. Whoever learns to be at peace with themselves never gets lost again. In the end, spiritual solitude is the cocoon before flight. And every cocoon seems like a tomb, until it opens and reveals wings. What now seems like isolation is in fact a birth. Serene voice. You are not alone. You are being prepared. The universe is teaching you to be whole, so that when the next phase arrives, you will love without depending, walk without fear, and shine without needing an audience. Few things test faith as much as time. Waiting is the territory where the universe assesses whether your trust is real or just impatience disguised as hope. Gentle pause. When you ask for something, the universe begins to move the pieces, but there is a sacred time between the request and the manifestation, a time that cannot be rushed. It is in this interval that your energy is refined, your desires are purified, your faith is honed. And the most challenging thing is to continue believing when nothing changes, because waiting is not doing anything. It is vibrating in the certainty of what is not yet seen. The human mind hates waiting. It wants immediate answers, visible results, tangible proof. But the universe works at a different pace, at frequencies the ego doesn't understand. When you try to force time, you block the flow. When you let go and trust, everything falls into place. Waiting is the training of vibration. It's when the universe asks, do you truly believe you deserve what you asked for? And your answer isn't in your words, but in your energy. Those who complain vibrate scarcity. Those who trust vibrate abundance. During the test of waiting, the silence seems to grow heavier. The days drag on. The promises seem distant. But something invisible is happening. An alignment between what you want and what you have become. The universe doesn't deliver immature dreams because it knows that blessings without preparation become burdens. So it delays to protect. It delays to strengthen. It delays so that, when it arrives, you know how to sustain it. Calm voice. Everything that is lasting requires vibrational maturity. Waiting also reveals your relationship with control. It's easy to trust when you know the next step. It's difficult to trust when there's no map. But the universe moves better when you stop trying to steer. When you let go of control, life takes the wheel. And the most curious thing is that things start to flow precisely when you stop insisting on them. It's the divine paradox. Whoever lets go, receives. Whoever holds on, loses. The universe rewards lightness, not anxiety. The test of waiting isn't about patience, it's about presence. While the future hasn't arrived, the present teaches you. Each day is a fragment of the miracle that is forming. And if you learn to find beauty in the process, the blessing will come with more meaning. Haste is the enemy of spiritual wisdom. Everything that is true is born slowly, with time, with purpose. Soft soundtrack. Bamboo takes years growing invisibly, and when it breaks through the earth, it rises meters in weeks. So it is with your harvest. The secret is not to give up when time seems to stand still. The universe observes your consistency, your ability to keep your heart open, even without seeing results. Each day of silent faith builds energy in the invisible. And when the cycle is complete, everything happens at once, like rain falling after a long drought. He who waited with confidence receives not only what he asked for, but what he became, because the greatest reward of waiting is spiritual growth. So, if time seems to challenge you, smile. You are not standing still. You are being aligned. Waiting is the womb of manifestation. Every second of patience is a seed sown in the quantum field of faith. Serene voice. The universe is not late. It synchronizes. And when the divine clock strikes the right time, everything will come with grace, gentleness, and perfection. Not before, not after. Exactly when your soul is ready to receive without fear of loss. There comes a point in the journey when everything that seemed overcome comes knocking at your door again. Old situations, people, fears, and patterns reappear, and you ask yourself, why am I experiencing this again? Soft pause. This is the sixth test, the cycle of old trials. The universe never repeats anything by mistake. It does so to confirm whether the lesson was truly learned. Life places you before the same scenarios, but with a new awareness. And what once dominated you now serves to show how much you have evolved. Old tests return like mirrors. They show you if your vibration has changed or if you're still stuck in the past. The ex who reappears, the fear that returns, the habit that persists, all are spiritual reminders. The universe asks you, do you want to return to the old comfort or move towards your new version? It is at this moment that the soul takes a stand. And the choice, though it may seem small, defines the direction of your energy. Low voice. To repeat is to stagnate. To overcome is to ascend. When old pains return, it's not regression. It's verification. It's as if the universe is saying, show me what you've learned. And it's important to understand. It's not about fighting the past, but about responding differently. If before you reacted with anger, now you respond calmly. If before you were hurt, now you understand. This is vibrational ascension. Repetition serves to consolidate the new frequency, to seal the learning with awareness. The test only ends when you vibrate differently in the face of the same situation. These repetitions often come disguised as temptations. The comfort of the old world whispers, go back, it's safe here. But the universe doesn't want you to go back. It wants you to see. Because learning isn't confirmed by words, but by action. Soft background. It is in the midst of temptation that faith becomes maturity. The awakened soul doesn't fall into the same hole. It recognizes, smiles, and moves on. Each time you choose differently, the universe pushes you one step higher. The return of old experiences also serves to dissolve guilt. Sometimes we think that making a mistake was the end, when in reality, it was the beginning of understanding. The universe makes you revisit the mistake not to punish you, but to free you from it. Forgiveness is the key that closes the cycle. When you forgive the other, and especially yourself, the past loses its power. And what once held you back transforms into gratitude, because it was the pain that brought you here. This moment demands spiritual vigilance. It's easy to think you've evolved until the old pattern reappears and tests your vibration. But there is no evolution without confirmation. Soft voice. The universe is not impressed by words, but by energy. And every time you react consciously, it understands that the lesson has been engraved on your soul. It is at this point that the repetition ceases and the flow resumes. True learning leaves no trace, it leaves lightness. So, when the past returns, don't reject it. Acknowledge it. Be grateful for the reminder and move on. The universe only repeats what you haven't yet integrated. When the vibration changes, the test dissipates like smoke. Trials are like echoes. When you stop shouting at them, they cease. Final pause. That's the sign that the soul has matured. And when that happens, the universe whispers silently, now we can continue. There comes a point when the universe asks you for something that seems impossible, to let go of control. soft pause. The seventh test is that of detachment, the most difficult of all, because it demands faith without guarantees. It's when you realize you can no longer force what doesn't resonate with you, nor hold on to what the universe has already decided to take away. Detachment is the silent gesture of one who trusts in the invisible. It's the courage to open the hand of the known, to receive what has not yet been revealed. And this act, though painful, is what releases the flow of life. Human beings have been conditioned to believe that possession is synonymous with security. But the more you try to hold on, the more life slips away. Everything that is real flows. Everything that is forced breaks. The universe doesn't ask you to lose. It asks you to trust. Because what is truly yours doesn't need to be grasped, only acknowledged. Soft voice. Detachment is not a lack of love. It is love in its mature state, the kind that allows things to be free to stay. When you begin to let go, the mind panics. It wants proof. It wants guarantees. It wants to know what will come next. But the soul smiles, because the soul knows that letting go is the path to abundance. Every time you detach yourself from something that no longer resonates with you, you create space for the new. The problem is that many want the new, but don't want to let go of the old. And the universe, patiently, waits for the moment when your courage overcomes your attachment. Detachment is a sacred rite. It's like an energetic cleansing that removes from your life everything that vibrates below your new frequency. People, habits, beliefs, places. Everything that doesn't contribute to your expansion begins to leave. Light track. Sometimes it hurts, because the ego confuses attachment with identity. But each loss reveals that you are freer than you imagined. What leaves was never truly yours. What remains is what resonates with your truth. Learning to let go is like learning to breathe differently. Inhaling the new, exhaling the old. Letting go doesn't mean giving up. It means trusting in the universe's perfect timing. It's accepting that there's an invisible order guiding every step, even when logic doesn't understand. Calm voice. Attachment is resistance. Surrender is yielding. And it is in surrender that miracles manifest. Because when you stop trying to control, the universe can finally act. Over time, you begin to realize that everything you missed was preparation. The people who left, the plans that failed, the doors that closed, it was all part of the same lesson, teaching you to trust without demanding. Detachment is the ultimate test of faith. It's looking to the sky and saying, I don't understand, but I trust. And that vibration changes everything, because the universe responds not to your words, but to your surrender. And then, the instant the heart lets go, life flows. What is yours returns, what is not dissolves. Energy begins to circulate again, peace returns, and the future starts to align effortlessly. Gentle pause. It is at this point that faith ceases to be theory and becomes living practice. Detachment is the last step before reward, and whoever learns to let go finally discovers the secret. The universe doesn't take away, it replaces, always with something better, lighter, and truer. Most people believe that gratitude comes after victory. That one should only be grateful when something good happens, when the result arrives, when the miracle manifests. But the universe doesn't work that way. Gratitude is the key that opens the door, not the gift that comes afterward. Soft voice. The eighth test is this: to be grateful before seeing. It's the moment when the universe observes whether your faith is mature enough to celebrate the invisible. Because whoever is grateful before the harvest shows that they already trust the soil. True gratitude is born from awareness, not from circumstances. It's easy to be grateful when everything goes right. The challenge is to smile amidst uncertainty, to say thank you while the storm is still raging. This kind of vibration breaks down energetic barriers, changes the quantum field, and accelerates the flow of manifestation. Because the universe responds to emotion, not to requests. And gratitude is the emotion closest to abundance. Those who vibrate gratitude don't ask. They acknowledge. And acknowledgement is the language of creation. When you begin to give thanks for what you don't yet have, You are affirming that you already believe, and believing before seeing is the purest act of faith. Brief pause. Giving thanks while waiting is like lighting a light in the darkness. It's the gesture that says to the universe, I trust in your timing. And when this vibration becomes constant, everything around you begins to align. People, opportunities, ideas, paths, everything begins to conspire in your favor. Gratitude also transforms the perception of pain. When you understand that even challenges have a purpose, they cease to be enemies. Loss becomes liberation, delay becomes refinement, disappointment becomes redirection. It's a different perspective on the same reality. Light track. And it is this perspective that changes everything, because those who are grateful for the process receive their destiny with lightness. Gratitude is the soul's glasses. It changes the world without needing to change them. Over time, gratitude ceases to be a practice and becomes a presence. You no longer need to force it, it simply flows. You begin to be grateful for the simple fact of existing, for breathing, for learning, for being. And in this vibrational state, the universe responds with generosity. It expands your life, not because you asked, but because you vibrate at the frequency of yes. Soft voice. Gratitude is the silent yes to life, even when it doesn't seem fair. This is the turning point. When you begin to realize that the reward was already on the path, not at the destination. Gratitude makes you understand that the miracle is not what arrives, but what happens within you while you wait. The heart expands, the mind calms, and the soul aligns. In this state, the universe has no choice. It must respond, because the vibration of gratitude is irresistible. Everything that is yours begins to move gently towards you. And then, suddenly, the cycle closes. The blessing that seemed distant materializes. The answers arrive, the doors open, and the silence transforms into music. But the most beautiful thing is that now you understand. The true miracle wasn't what you gained, it was what you became. Soft pause. The universe didn't test you to tire you, but to awaken you. And gratitude is the final seal, the vibrational signature of someone who has learned to trust before receiving. After the desert comes the awakening. There's a moment when everything that previously seemed confusing begins to make sense. The pieces of the puzzle that the universe has been silently moving fall into place, and you understand why you needed to go through each trial. Slight pause. The reunion with purpose is not an external event. It's an internal recognition. It's when the heart whispers, that was it. Purpose is not something you find outside. It's something that blossoms from within, when the pain finishes its work, and the soul begins to breathe again. Purpose is born from contrast. Every loss taught you about value. Every silence taught you about faith. Every wait taught you about trust. What seemed like punishment was, in fact, preparation. And now, the universe delivers the mission to you with clarity. You feel the desire to serve, to expand, to use what you have learned to illuminate the path of others. Soft voice. Because purpose is not about conquering, it's about contributing. It's when the energy that was once used to survive begins to be used to create. In this reunion, something changes in how you see life. What was once an obligation becomes gratitude. What was effort becomes flow. What was doubt becomes direction. The universe begins to conspire visibly, because now your vibration is aligned with who you truly are. Everything that resists disappears. The right people appear, the signs intensify, the paths open naturally. It's as if life finally breathes with you at the same rhythm. But purpose also demands vibrational responsibility. It calls you to live consciously, coherently, truthfully. The universe doesn't sustain false brilliance. It responds to authenticity. Therefore, purpose doesn't come to massage the ego. It comes to serve the soul. Light track. And the more you surrender to what you were born to do, the more the universe sustains you. Because the flow of creation always supports those who live in alignment with love. It's important to understand. Purpose is not a fixed destination. It's a continuous movement. It grows with you, changes with you, adapts to what your soul needs to express in each phase. Sometimes it is silence. Other times it is voice. Sometimes it is action. Other times, contemplation. But it always carries the same energy. Expansion. Purpose is the path that vibrates in the same tone as your heart. Following it is being in harmony with the universe. When this reunion happens, life regains its color. Routine ceases to be repetition and becomes ritual. The simple gains meaning. Even challenges are seen as invitations to growth. Serene voice. Purpose restores the feeling of belonging. You realize you were never lost. You only drifted away from your own frequency. And now, the universe celebrates your return, covering you with synchronicities like petals falling from the sky. Ultimately, purpose is your energetic signature. It's the reason your soul chose this time, this body, this story. And when you rediscover it, everything aligns. The time, the people, the opportunities. Soft pause. Life begins to respond to you with the same vibration you emit. And what once seemed like effort becomes lightness. This is the point where the universe whispers, "Now you understand why." And the cycle begins to flourish meaningfully. When the heart rediscovers its purpose, the universe begins to return everything that seemed lost, but in a new, lighter, and more conscious way. Soft voice. Abundance doesn't arrive with noise. It approaches like a breeze, as if saying, "You are ready." This is the 10th moment, the return of abundance. It's not just about money, achievements, or applause. It's about fulfillment. It's the phase in which energy flows freely again, because you have finally stopped blocking your own destiny with fear and resistance. Abundance is the reflection of inner harmony. The energy of abundance is sensitive. It responds to your vibration. It doesn't dwell in haste, despair, or attachment. It comes when the heart vibrates with gratitude and presence. The universe has always wanted to bless you, but it needed your energy to be aligned to receive it. That's why so many doors had to close before, so that now, as they open, you can cross them with awareness. Abundance is generous, but it only reveals itself to those who have learned to respect divine timing. This is when you understand. Abundance isn't about having, it's about being. It's not about accumulating, it's about flowing. It's a state of mind, a silent music that the universe plays within those who have learned to trust. Slight pause. Money, love, health, all of these are physical expressions of an inner vibration. When you vibrate in harmony, life responds with perfect synchronicities. Opportunities appear, coincidences multiply, and the impossible begins to seem natural. The return of abundance also reveals a secret. It doesn't come to prove anything to you. It comes to show you how much you've grown. Each blessing is a mirror of your evolution. What was once struggle is now flow. What was once scarcity is now expansion. Life smiles again because you stopped fearing and started allowing. The universe never denied anything. It only waited for the moment when your vibration said, "I am ready to receive responsibly." But be aware, abundance is only maintained when you share it. The inflow must go out. Soft background. When you give, teach, help, or inspire, the energy is renewed. The universe doesn't feed on accumulation, it feeds on movement. Therefore, each blessing that arrives is also an invitation to multiply. Prosperity grows in generous hands. The secret to abundance is understanding that it is not yours. It passes through you. This phase is marked by gratitude and humility. The heart understands that nothing came by chance. Every tear, every weight, every fall was part of the harvest. You begin to look at the past with tenderness, recognizing that everything was a way of preparing you for the present. And in this state of awareness, abundance ceases to be an event and becomes a constant vibration. Calm voice. There is no more fear of losing, because you understand that nothing that is yours is ever truly gone. The return of abundance is, in fact, a return to oneself. It's the moment when the universe mirrors you in the form of opportunities, love, and peace. Soft pause. What was desert becomes a garden. What was doubt becomes certainty. And you, who once sought signs, are now the very sign that faith works. Abundance arrives, not as a prize, but as a natural consequence of those who have finally learned to trust. When the soul rises, love changes form. It ceases to be neediness, ceases to be a search, and transforms into overflowing. Soft voice. Love at a high frequency is not that which comes to fill, but that which is born from fullness. It is the moment when you realize that loving is not losing yourself in the other, but recognizing yourself through them. When the vibration of love aligns with that of purpose, connections cease to be casual. They become divine. The universe only brings together those who resonate with your new energy, and every relationship becomes a mirror, a lesson, and a blessing. Earthly love teaches, spiritual love awakens. During the journey, the universe allows you to meet versions of yourself through the people who cross your path. Some come to heal, others to provoke, some simply to mirror. But there comes a moment when, after so many comings and goings, the heart matures. It no longer seeks intensity, it seeks peace. It no longer seeks emotion, it seeks vibration. Slight pause. That's when true love manifests, when the heart learns to be a home before seeking shelter. High-frequency love is free because it doesn't stem from the fear of loss. It understands that nothing real ever truly fades. It doesn't hold back. It embraces. It doesn't demand. It shares. It doesn't require. It understands. And this lightness creates an atmosphere where the other person can also flourish. The universe then rewards your inner journey with a love that vibrates at the same frequency as your soul. It's the meeting of two conscious presences that recognize each other, not to complete one another, but to evolve together. When this love arrives, it doesn't come with fire and noise. It comes with silence and certainty. It doesn't take away your focus, it expands it. It doesn't distract you from your mission. It aligns you even more with it. Light soundtrack. This kind of love is an answer, not a distraction. It's a reflection of your inner balance. The universe would never give you someone to distance you from yourself, only someone who reminds you who you are. True love doesn't come to take you off course, it comes to accompany you on it. This is the love that heals without patching, that strengthens without suffocating, that grows without invading. It exists because you have changed your frequency. Before, you attracted what needed healing. Now, you attract what you can share. Elevated love is the natural consequence of those who vibrate in gratitude, peace, and faith. Calm voice. It is not a prize, it is attunement. And the more you become love, the more the universe surrounds you with people who speak the same energetic language. But even at this stage, the universe is still watching you. It wants to know if you have learned to love without losing your essence. Love at a high frequency requires balance. It's walking together without merging. It's feeling presence even in absence. It's respecting the divine timing of each soul. This is the purest form of love, without fear, without haste, without demands. Just being. And being is the most beautiful verb of conscious love. In the end, elevated love is proof that all the pain was worth it. Because it was suffering that taught you to differentiate passion from connection, attachment from harmony, possession from freedom. Soft pause. And when the universe realizes that you have finally understood this, it rewards you with the rarest love of all, the one that doesn't begin outside, but within, the love that is born from communion with one's own spirit. After walking in the dark for so long, you begin to notice small lights appearing around you. They manifest in details, an improbable coincidence, a conversation that arrives at the right moment, a number that repeats itself, a sudden feeling of peace amidst the chaos. Soft voice. These are the signs of manifestation. The universe doesn't shout, it whispers. And when your vibration finally aligns with what you asked for, reality begins to respond with symbols, as if life itself were winking at you, saying, "It's coming." These signs are vibrational responses. Manifestation isn't magic, it's spiritual mathematics. Everything you feel, think, and believe sends waves into the quantum field, and that field returns exactly what it vibrates. When fear gives way to trust and doubt transforms into gratitude, the universe rearranges everything in your favor. Brief pause. It's at this point that the signs multiply. You begin to realize that nothing is by chance. Everything is code. The universe speaks through coincidences. The most sensitive people understand these signs not with their minds, but with their hearts. A song plays and brings you an answer. A stranger says exactly what you needed to hear. A delay prevents a mistake. Every event, however small it may seem, is part of the divine symphony. Soft background music. Manifestation is the moment when vibration becomes form. But before it is visible, it needs to be felt. Therefore, the first sign is not outside. It is within you. Calmness. Silent certainty. The universe is precise, but not hasty. It sends signals like a patient teacher, observing whether you are paying attention. The problem is that many are so focused on the result that they ignore the signals of the process, and that's where learning is lost. Manifestation begins when you learn to perceive, not to demand. When you become aware that everything that happens is life trying to communicate with you. Each signal is a vibrational confirmation of what is to come. These signs also test your faith. They don't always appear in the way you expect. Sometimes the sign comes as the closing of a cycle. Sometimes it comes as a no, calm voice. And the universe's no is always a detour to something greater. When you learn to trust even without understanding, you begin to realize that the signs are not empty promises, but invitations to continue vibrating at a high frequency. Manifestation approaches in the same measure that your trust expands. It is at this stage that synchronicity becomes constant. Everything seems connected. Time adjusts, coincidences increase, and the feeling of being in the right place at the right time becomes commonplace. The universe is showing you that finally your energy and physical reality are in harmony, and this synchronicity creates a kind of dance between the invisible and the visible. You act, the universe responds. You feel, it confirms. Slight pause. It is the dialogue between faith and form. Over time, you realize that the signs were never about the future, but about the present. They are not meant to rush you, but to remind you. You are already living the miracle. Manifestation is not an isolated event. It is a state of consciousness. When you begin to live with gratitude, purpose, and love, the universe has no choice but to manifest more of that. Soft voice. The signs are the mirror of a soul that has learned to trust. And now, the invisible bows before your faith. When the harvest begins, it's not just the external world that changes. It's your vibration that finally finds rest. Soft voice. The energy of reward doesn't arrive like an explosion, but like a sunrise, slow, silent, and inevitable. Everything you planted in faith begins to flourish. Doors open, answers arrive, and synchronicity transforms into a constant flow. The universe, which seemed distant, now envelops you with a sense of peace that doesn't depend on circumstances. That is the true reward. Feeling that the invisible has always been in your favor, even when it seemed like silence. The energy of reward is not payment, it's a reflection. The universe doesn't work with debt, it works with vibration. What you offer returns, multiplied by the intention with which it was given. If you acted with love, it returns in abundance. If you were patient, it returns in fullness. The return is not random, it's coherent. Slight pause. And the most beautiful thing is realizing that when the reward arrives, it doesn't surprise. It confirms. It's the "I knew it" that arises in the heart of those who trusted, even when everything said no. At this stage, life takes on a different texture. The same landscapes seem more alive, people lighter, time more generous. Energy changes because your frequency has changed. The universe adjusts to your new vibration, and everything that doesn't match it simply dissolves. It's the natural law of energy. Like attracts like. Therefore, the reward comes effortlessly, because now you are what you once sought. Light track. Flow replaces struggle, and deserving takes the place of doubt. But there's a secret few realize. The true reward isn't what you receive, it's who you become. The entire journey has shaped you for this. The universe never just wanted to give you something. It wanted to transform you into someone capable of sustaining what was to come. Faith matured, the heart expanded, and now what arrives is not lost, because your vibration has already learned to hold on to it. Calm voice. Blessings are not measured by size, but by the peace they bring. It is at this point that the ego tries to return. It wants credit. It wants control. It wants to say, I did it. But the spirit, now awakened, simply smiles. It understands that nothing came by chance, that everything is the result of partnership with the divine. The reward does not feed pride, it feeds gratitude. Because you realize that you never walked alone. There was always something greater guiding each step, each pause, each reunion. And recognizing this is the purest form of celebration. The energy of reward is also expansive. When you receive it with gratitude, it multiplies. The more you share, the more it grows. The universe doesn't send blessings to be hoarded, but to circulate. Slight pause. Your light inspires. Your faith is contagious. Your journey serves as a map for others who are still walking in the dark. This is the greatest manifestation, to be a channel. When you understand that you were blessed to bless, the reward becomes infinite. And then, the moment of pause arrives. The heart falls silent, not for lack of emotion, but for fullness. You understand that the reward is not the end. It is the beginning of a new cycle. Soft voice. The universe has rewarded you because your energy has learned the balance between action and surrender, between faith and patience. Now, your presence vibrates with abundance. And what was once a search transforms into a state. What was once a promise is now reality. After the reward, the next step is not to rest, but to learn to flow. The universe is not a system of rewards and punishments. It's a dance of energy. Soft voice. Living in flow is understanding that everything has rhythm, birth, growth, harvest, and beginning again. The harmony of time is not about doing everything at the right moment, but about feeling when to act and when to simply be. The mind wants a calendar. The soul wants synchronicity. And when you learn to dance with time, life ceases to be a race and becomes a melody. Each breath takes on a purpose. The flow of life is like a river. It doesn't argue with the stones. It simply flows around them. You realize that resisting only tires you, and that control is an illusion created by fear. Brief pause. Everything that needs to arrive comes, and everything that needs to go goes. This wisdom changes your vibration because it removes the weight of expectation. Now you understand that the universe is never late. It simply follows a rhythm that human haste doesn't hear. The harmony of time is the gift of those who have learned to wait smiling. In this state of fluidity, anxiety dissolves. You stop chasing and start walking with. Time ceases to be an enemy and becomes an ally. Every delay becomes an adjustment. Every pause becomes preparation. Harmony is the awareness that the perfect moment is always now. Calm voice. There is no past that needs fixing, nor a future that needs forcing. Everything that is yours already vibrates with you, and time is merely the space where that vibration manifests. Flow also teaches about surrender. To flow is not to give up, it's to trust the current. The universe knows the way better than your mind. It sees curves your eyes don't see. When you stop forcing, the impossible becomes natural. And this surrender is not passivity, it's faith in motion. Light track. Because acting in harmony is different from acting in despair. Harmony creates lightness, despair, resistance. And the universe always responds to lightness. Over time, the harmony of flow becomes your natural state. Worries diminish, intuition increases. You begin to sense when something is out of frequency and correct it calmly, without fear. Life becomes a conversation with the universe. It speaks in signs. and you respond with vibration. This dialogue is silent, but constant. It is love translated into synchronicity. Brief pause. To live in harmony is to live listening. The flow also reveals the beauty of impermanence. Everything changes, and that's precisely why everything lives. When you stop fighting against the end of things, you begin to appreciate constant rebirth. Each cycle that ends is a new chance to be. The harmony of time is knowing that nothing is lost, it only transforms. Farewell becomes gratitude, the new becomes curiosity, and the present becomes home. Soft voice. It is at this point that the fear of the future disappears, and then time becomes a loving ally. You look back and understand that everything happened at the right time, in the right way, even if it hurt. The synchronicity is perfect because the universe never misses the beat. Soft pause. When you vibrate in harmony, life responds like a song that finally makes sense. The flow is the prayer of those who have learned to trust. And to trust is to live in peace with time, knowing that the universe always dances to the same rhythm as your heart. When the soul reaches a state of harmony, it begins to see what has always been there, hidden beneath the illusion of separation. Soft voice. Everything is connected. Every person, every gesture, every event is part of the same vibrational fabric that the universe weaves with perfection. The awareness of unity is the deepest awakening of the journey. It is when you understand that nothing happens only to you, but through you, in a flow that benefits the whole. The pain you experienced served to heal another. Your overcoming inspired someone unseen. Your silent faith generated hope in the collective field. This perception changes everything. The I begins to dissolve, and the we emerges. You feel that you are part of the earth's breath, the pulse of the stars, the vibration of love that sustains the cosmos. Loneliness disappears, because unity knows no isolation. Slight pause. The universe is a living organism, and you are a cell in it. When it vibrates high, the whole body feels it. When it vibrates in disharmony, the whole body seeks to heal you. This constant exchange is the secret language of creation. The awareness of unity also transforms how you see others. There are no more enemies, only mirrors. Each person who crosses your path is a projection of something that dwells within you, whether light or shadow. And when you realize this, judgment dissolves. Forgiveness becomes natural, not out of weakness, but out of wisdom. Calm voice. You understand that hurting another is hurting yourself, and loving another is healing your own heart. This is the true meaning of loving your neighbor as yourself, realizing that they are part of you. Unity also reveals the purpose of differences. Each soul brings a unique note to the symphony of existence. What seems like conflict is merely temporary dissonance. As consciousness expands, you begin to hear the whole, and realize that even dissonant notes have a function in the larger melody. Soft background music. Chaos and order are merely phases of the same universal rhythm. And this perception gives you peace, because it makes you trust even what you don't yet understand. At this stage, compassion becomes natural. You begin to look at the world with healing eyes. There is no longer a desire to prove anything, to compete or dominate, only to contribute. The energy shifts from what can I receive to what can I offer. The ego bows before consciousness, and love takes command. Brief pause. This love is not emotion. It is pure vibration. It is the field that sustains all other frequencies. The awareness of unity also awakens a new form of prayer. You no longer ask for things. You vibrate gratitude for what already is. You pray, not to be heard, but to harmonize the collective. You understand that your light influences the world, and that every loving thought is a seed of transformation. Soft voice. At this point, spirituality ceases to be belief and becomes a state. You no longer seek God, you vibrate with Him. And when that awareness settles in, everything becomes simpler. Duality vanishes, fear disappears, and love becomes the air you breathe. Long pause. You realize that the universe was never outside. It was always your own expanding essence. The journey wasn't to find God, but to remember that He never left you. And that remembrance is the greatest awakening a soul can experience. There comes a moment when there is no more searching, only presence. The heart falls silent, not from weariness, but from fullness. Soft voice. The journey has reached its highest point, the return to the whole. All that was once fragmented becomes whole. Questions cease, doubts dissolve, and the soul rests in the recognition that the universe and you have always been the same thing looking at each other in different mirrors. The light of consciousness is not something that comes from outside. It is the awakening of what has always been within. When that light ignites, no darkness remains. Enlightened consciousness doesn't see miracles as exceptions, but as a natural state. Everything is a miracle, breathing, existing, loving. Life ceases to be a race and transforms into a living prayer. Brief pause. Faith, which was once effort, is now nature. Fear, which once paralyzed you, is now just a distant memory of a mind that didn't know how to trust. You walk in peace, without needing to know your destination, because you feel the certainty of purpose vibrating in every step. The inner light has become your guide, and trust, your path. The return to the whole is a silent reunion. There are no fireworks or external celebrations, only a sigh of recognition. You feel the universe breathing with you. Time loses importance, because eternity reveals itself in the now. Everything is present. Calm voice. It is at this point that the human being transforms into a channel, no longer asking, but emanating. Every gesture, every word, every look begins to carry intention. And that intention is always love, because love is the final vibration of existence. The light of consciousness also brings a new way of living. Internal struggles cease, judgment disappears, and forgiveness becomes your breath. You understand that life was never about winning, but about understanding. That it wasn't about arriving somewhere, but about remembering who you always were. Light track. The return to the whole is the silent celebration of a soul that has returned home. And that home is the heart itself, clean, light, and full of gratitude. In this state, presence becomes healing. Your mere existence illuminates the environment, calms hearts, and inspires faith. You no longer need to prove anything, because you are living proof that the universe rewards those who persevere in faith. Your story transforms into a message, your pain into medicine, your journey into a testimony. Gentle pause. What was once a burden is now power. The power to heal, to inspire, and to love without measure. Then, the universe whispers one last lesson. There is no end, only cycles. The return to the whole is not the end of the journey. It is the beginning of a new level of consciousness. The light that now shines within you will become a beacon for others, and every soul that touches your vibration will feel the memory of home. Awakening is contagious, and your peace will be the seed of awakening for many. Thus, the cycle of faith continues, eternal, luminous, and expansive. And now, as silence returns and your heart vibrates with gratitude, the universe celebrates with you. You are no longer who began this journey. Your soul has matured, your spirit has blossomed, and faith has become your breath. Long pause. The universe tested your faith not to prove you, but to prepare you. And the reward was not what you received, but who you became. Now, you are a conscious part of the light that moves all things. And the all, smiling, simply says, "Welcome back." If this video touched your heart, don't let it fade away. Share this message with someone who is being tested by the universe right now. Write in the comments, "I trust in divine timing," and let the universe see your faith in action. Take a deep breath, feel the light vibrating within you, and remember, everything the universe takes away is to make room for what it will give you.